What happens when a Hollywood icon known for grace and restraint is pushed, live on television, into a corner she never expected to stand in? What happens when a polite smile becomes armor, when silence turns into defiance, and when a room full of cameras catches the exact second a line is crossed? Before this moment ends, one woman will fire back, another will freeze in disbelief, and an audience will realize they're witnessing something that was never supposed to happen on daytime TV. Subscribe to The Truth Narrator right now, like this video, and drop a comment below, because stories like this don't unfold twice, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. The studio lights glow with that familiar daytime warmth, the kind meant to soothe viewers at home, the kind that promises laughter, opinions, and safe conversation over morning coffee. The applause sign flickers on, and the audience obeys, clapping in unison as Nicole Kidman walks onto the set of The View. She moves with her usual elegance, posture straight, smile calm, almost ceremonial. This is not her first talk show. This is not her first tough question. And yet, something in the air feels off. Nicole senses it immediately. The way the host smiles are a fraction too tight. The way the energy feels less welcoming and more anticipatory, like a storm pretending to be a breeze. She takes her seat, smoothing her dress, folding her hands neatly in her lap. The cameras zoom in, capturing her composed expression, the actress who has spent decades mastering emotional control. Whoopi Goldberg leans back in her chair, arms crossed loosely, eyes sharp with curiosity that borders on challenge. She's done this longer than most people in the room. She knows how to guide a conversation. She also knows how to provoke one. The first few minutes pass easily enough. Nicole speaks about her latest project, her voice measured, thoughtful, every answer polished but sincere. The audience nods along. There's laughter, polite and expected. But beneath the surface, the tension is quietly tightening, like a wire being pulled inch by inch. Then Whoopi shifts forward. "So, Nicole," she says, tone casual but pointed, "a lot of people feel that stars at your level are a bit disconnected from reality, especially when it comes to certain social issues. Do you ever worry that the roles you choose, or the way you speak about them, might come off as out of touch?" The question lands heavier than it sounds. Nicole doesn't respond immediately. She blinks once, slowly. Inside her mind, thoughts race. Out of touch. Disconnected. She's heard variations of this before, but rarely so bluntly, and never framed quite like this, live in front of millions. She smiles, that familiar diplomatic smile. "I think it's important to listen," she begins carefully. "I try to choose roles that explore humanity, vulnerability." Whoopi interrupts, a small laugh escaping her lips. "But listening and understanding are two different things, aren't they?" The room shifts. A few audience members exchange glances. One of the co-hosts adjusts in her seat, sensing the subtle escalation. Nicole's smile tightens just slightly. The interruption is minor on paper, but in the moment, it feels like a dismissal. Nicole continues, still composed. "Understanding comes from empathy. And I believe storytelling. But empathy from privilege can still miss the mark." Whoopi cuts in again, this time firmer. There it is. The line. The implication hanging in the air like smoke. Nicole's hands unclasp. She inhales deeper this time. The cameras catch it. Her eyes flick briefly toward the audience, then back to Whoopi. For years, she's been praised for her restraint, her softness, her refusal to engage in public conflict. But something about the repetition, the interruptions, the framing, it presses a nerve. "Whoopi," Nicole says, her voice still calm, but lower now, steadier. "With respect, I don't think empathy belongs to one class of people." The audience murmurs. Whoopi raises an eyebrow. "That's not what I said." "No," Nicole replies, sitting a little straighter. "But it's what's being implied." The tension becomes visible now. You can feel it through the screen. The polite talk show rhythm is gone, replaced by something raw, unscripted. Nicole's heart pounds, but her face remains composed. Inside, she's thinking of every interview where she swallowed discomfort. Every moment she chose grace over honesty. And suddenly, that choice feels heavier than speaking up. "I've spent my life listening to stories that aren't mine," Nicole continues. "Women who've suffered. Families who've lost everything. Voices that don't get heard unless someone amplifies them. To suggest that my work, or my voice, is invalid because of where I come from, that hurts. And it's not fair." A hush falls over the studio. Even the applause sign stays dark. Whoopi leans back again, but this time there's a flicker of surprise in her expression. This isn't the answer she expected. This isn't the gentle deflection. Nicole has pushed back, and she's done it without raising her voice, without losing control. That somehow makes it even more powerful. So now you're saying criticism isn't allowed? Whoopi asks, tone sharper. Nicole shakes her head slowly. I'm saying criticism should be honest, not dismissive. There's a difference. The audience breaks into scattered applause before anyone can stop it. Nicole feels the adrenaline now, a quiet fire in her chest. She knows this moment will be replayed, dissected, judged. She knows headlines are already forming. But she also knows something else. She's done being spoken over. And as the camera zooms in on her face, steady and unflinching, everyone watching realizes this is no longer just an interview. This is the beginning of a confrontation that will echo far beyond this studio. And it's only just begun. The applause dies down unevenly, like rain tapering off after a sudden storm. Nicole Kidman sits perfectly still, her expression calm on the surface, but inside her chest her heart is pounding harder than it ever has during an awards speech or a film premiere. This is different. This isn't scripted. There's no director to yell cut. No second take. Just truth, live and exposed. Whoopi Goldberg studies her now, not with hostility exactly, but with a sharpened focus, the way someone looks when they realize the conversation has slipped out of familiar territory. The power dynamic has shifted, and everyone in the room can feel it. The easy rhythm of the view has fractured, replaced by a tense stillness that makes even the studio lights feel hotter. So let's talk about that, Whoopi says at last, her voice measured but firm. Because when you say dismissive, some people would say you're dismissing the lived experiences of others by centering your own feelings. Nicole's jaw tightens for the briefest moment. She nods slowly, acknowledging the point without surrendering to it. I'm not centering myself, she replies. I'm responding to a suggestion that empathy somehow has an expiration date based on success. And I don't believe that. One of the co-hosts clears her throat softly, attempting to steer the conversation. Maybe what Whoopi's saying is. But Whoopi lifts a hand, stopping her. No, let her answer. The audience murmurs again. There's a split forming now, some nodding in agreement with Nicole, others waiting to see if she'll overstep. Social media, unseen but omnipresent, is already lighting up. Clips are being cut in real time. Opinions are forming before sentences even finish. Nicole leans forward slightly, her voice growing stronger, more grounded. I've never claimed to fully understand every struggle, she says. But I refuse to accept the idea that listening, learning, and trying somehow disqualifies me from speaking at all. Whoopi's lips press into a thin line. But don't you think sometimes stepping back is the better option? Nicole doesn't answer right away. She looks directly at Whoopi, eyes steady. The pause stretches just long enough to make the audience uncomfortable. This silence isn't empty, it's deliberate. Stepping back is important, Nicole finally says. But so is standing up when your intentions are questioned in a way that feels unfair. There it is again. That word. Unfair. Whoopi exhales sharply, a hint of frustration slipping through her composure. So now you're saying I'm being unfair to you? I'm saying the framing matters, Nicole responds. And today, the framing feels like an accusation, not a conversation. The tension thickens. One of the hosts shifts in her seat, eyes darting between the two women. This is no longer a friendly debate. This is a collision of perspectives, pride, and presence. Two women who have both fought their way to the top, through different paths, different battles, now standing on opposite sides of a line neither planned to draw. Whoopi leans forward again, voice lowering. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen celebrities come in here, talk about empathy, talk about awareness, and then disappear back into their bubbles. People get tired of hearing words without action. Nicole nods. So do I. That catches Whoopi off guard. Just for a second. I put my money, my time, and my platform behind causes I believe in, Nicole continues. Quietly sometimes. Not everything needs to be performative to be real. A ripple moves through the audience. A few claps break out, quickly hushed by the sheer weight of the moment. Whoopi tilts her head. But how would anyone know that? Nicole meets her gaze. Because the people affected know. And that's who it's for. The room feels divided now, charged. The producers off camera are undoubtedly panicking, debating whether to cut to commercial. This isn't the kind of viral moment they can fully control. It's raw, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. One of the co-hosts tries again. Maybe this is just a misunderstanding. No, Nicole says gently but firmly. It's not. Her voice doesn't shake. If anything, it's steadier than before. Years of portraying complex women, of channeling emotion into control, have led her to this exact skill. Speaking truth without losing herself. I respect you, Whoopi, Nicole adds. Truly. But respect goes both ways. And today I felt talked over. The words hang in the air like a held breath. For a brief moment, Whoopi says nothing. She looks out at the audience, then back at Nicole. The surprise has faded, replaced by something harder to read, reflection, perhaps, or irritation. The silence stretches long enough for viewers at home to lean closer to their screens. Finally, Whoopi speaks. That wasn't my intention. Nicole nods once. Intent doesn't erase impact. The audience reacts audibly now, gasps, murmurs, a wave of whispered commentary. That sentence lands with precision. It's calm, but it cuts deep. Whoopi sits back, arms crossing again. But this time it's defensive, not casual. So what do you want from this conversation? She asks. Nicole doesn't hesitate. Honesty. And space to speak without being reduced to a stereotype. The camera cuts briefly to the other hosts, their expressions tense, uncertain. They know this clip will live forever. They know this exchange has already crossed into something bigger than a daytime segment. Nicole feels a strange calm settle over her. The worst part, the fear of speaking up, is over. Whatever happens next, she's already said the thing she's been holding back. And as the studio clock ticks forward, one thing becomes clear to everyone watching. This isn't de-escalating. It's building towards something sharper, something final. Because when two powerful voices refuse to back down, the silence between them becomes louder than any applause. And the moment everyone will be talking about is still ahead. The silence after Nicole's words doesn't feel empty. It feels loaded, heavy with everything that's been said and everything that hasn't. The studio audience sits frozen, unsure whether to clap, gasp, or simply hold their breath. Somewhere off camera, a producer is probably whispering into a headset, but on set, no one moves. This moment has taken on a life of its own. Whoopi Goldberg breaks the stillness with a slow nod, as if acknowledging the weight of the exchange, but her eyes remain sharp. You're asking for space, she says, her voice steady but edged, on a show built around debate. That's a tricky line. Nicole doesn't flinch. Debate requires listening, she replies. Otherwise, it's just people waiting for their turn to talk. A murmur ripples through the audience, louder this time. A few people clap before stopping themselves, hands hovering awkwardly in midair. The energy has shifted again, less confrontational, more exposed. The kind of exposure that makes people uncomfortable because it forces them to recognize themselves in the argument. Whoopi tilts her head slightly, studying Nicole as if seeing her from a new angle. So you think I wasn't listening? I think you were listening to respond, Nicole says softly, not to understand. The words land gently, but they carry weight. Nicole feels it herself, the truth of what she's saying echoing back at her. She's not just talking to Whoopi anymore. She's talking to every interview she's ever sat through. Every time she smiled through discomfort to keep the peace. One of the co-hosts shifts forward, hands clasped. This is clearly hitting something deeper. It is, Whoopi cuts in, though her tone has changed. There's less fire now, more defensiveness mixed with something like pride. Because people at home expect us to ask the hard questions. They don't want rehearsed answers. Nicole nods. Neither do I. Her voice doesn't waver, but inside, she can feel the emotional toll creeping in. She's aware of the cameras capturing every micro-expression, every blink. She's aware that millions of viewers are choosing sides in real time. And yet, she continues because stopping now would feel like surrender. What I'm pushing back against, Nicole says, is the assumption that my voice is less valid because I've had success. That empathy becomes suspicious once you reach a certain level. Whoopi's shoulders tense. No one said suspicious. Maybe not out loud, Nicole replies. But it was implied. The word implied hangs between them like a challenge. Whoopi exhales, looking briefly down at the table before meeting Nicole's gaze again. You know, I didn't get here by being quiet, she says. I didn't get here by worrying about being liked. A few audience members nod vigorously. This is familiar Whoopi, the woman who built a career on blunt truth and unapologetic presence. Nicole listens carefully. And I respect that, she says. But not everyone fights the same way. The tension morphs again, becoming more personal, more human. This isn't just about privilege or platforms anymore. It's about identity, about how women, especially powerful women, are expected to speak, to behave, to disagree. So what are you saying? Whoopi asks. That I should soften my approach? Nicole shakes her head. No, I'm saying there's a difference between challenging someone and dismissing them. And today it felt like the latter. The audience reaction is immediate, an audible intake of breath, followed by scattered applause that grows bolder, louder, until it's impossible to ignore. The sound swells, filling the studio, forcing a pause. Whoopi waits it out, her expression unreadable. When the clapping finally fades, she speaks, slower now. You're right about one thing, she says. Impact matters. Nicole's eyes widen just slightly. This is the closest thing to a concession so far. But, Whoopi continues, so does accountability. Nicole nods. Agreed. There's a strange moment of alignment there, brief but real. Two perspectives intersecting before pulling apart again. The cameras catch it, the softened expressions, the shared pause. Viewers at home will rewind this part, analyze it frame by frame. One of the co-hosts takes the opening. Maybe this conversation is bigger than this table, she says carefully. Maybe it reflects how divided people feel right now. Nicole glances toward her, then back to Whoopi. That's exactly why this matters. Whoopi leans back, fingers tapping lightly against the table. So where does that leave us, right here, right now? Nicole considers the question. For the first time since the tension began, she allows herself to speak from somewhere raw. It leaves us with a choice, she says. To talk at each other, or to talk with each other. The studio is quiet again, but this time it feels different. Less explosive. More reflective. Even the audience seems to sense it, their earlier restlessness replaced by focus. Whoopi looks at Nicole for a long moment. The audience watches, the cameras linger. This is the pivot point. Escalation or resolution. You're not wrong, Whoopi finally says. But neither am I. Nicole smiles faintly. I never said you were. A soft ripple of laughter breaks the tension, just enough to remind everyone this is still a talk show, still live television. But the laughter doesn't erase what's happened. It simply underlines it. The producer seize the moment, signaling for a commercial break. The co-hosts shuffle papers. The audience exhales collectively, applause rising more out of relief than celebration. As the camera pulls back, Nicole sits quietly, hands folded once more. She feels drained, but also strangely lighter. She spoke her truth. She didn't back down. Across the table, Whoopi stares ahead, thoughtful, jaw set. She's not defeated, but she's been challenged. And when the show returns from break, everyone knows one thing for certain. The final moments of this exchange will determine how this confrontation is remembered. As a clash, or as a turning point. When the show returns from commercial, the energy in the studio has changed in a way no lighting cue can fix. The audience applause comes on cue, but it's softer now, cautious, like people clapping after witnessing something deeply personal. Nicole Kidman straightens in her chair, smoothing the fabric of her dress, her face composed but tired. Across from her, Whoopi Goldberg sits still, hands folded, eyes forward. The confrontation hasn't disappeared. It's settled into the room, lingering like the echo after a door slams shut. The cameras roll. Millions of viewers lean in again. Whoopi is the first to speak. Her voice is calm, measured, stripped of its earlier edge. We're back, she says. And conversations like this, they don't always land where we expect them to. Nicole turns toward her, listening. Really listening. This time, there's no interruption. I don't think anyone here doubts your intentions, Whoopi continues. But intent doesn't always protect us from criticism. Nicole nods slowly. And criticism doesn't have to erase respect. The exchange is quieter now, but somehow heavier. The audience senses it too. This isn't damage control. This is two powerful women navigating the aftermath of a moment neither can take back. Whoopi glances at Nicole. You pushed back today. That surprised some people. Nicole meets her gaze. It surprised me too. A faint, almost reluctant smile passes between them. Not friendship. Not victory. Something closer to recognition. I've learned, Nicole adds, that silence can sometimes look like agreement. And today, I didn't agree. The audience responds with firm applause, no longer scattered, no longer hesitant. It's not thunderous, but it's intentional. Whoopi nods once. Fair enough. The co-hosts exhale visibly, sensing the tension easing at last. The conversation shifts gently toward closing remarks. But the air is still charged. Everyone knows what they've just witnessed won't end when the credits roll. As the show wraps, Whoopi turns to the camera. That's all the time we have today. Nicole sits back, shoulders relaxing for the first time since she arrived. The lights dim slightly. The applause sign flashes one final time. And then cut. But the real explosion doesn't happen in the studio. It happens online. Within minutes, clips flood social media. Nicole Kidman shuts down Whoopi Goldberg live. Tense moment on The View goes off the rails. Whoopi versus Nicole, unscripted daytime TV clash. Comment sections ignite like dry grass. Some praise Nicole for standing her ground, calling her calm strength refreshing, overdue. Others defend Whoopi fiercely, arguing that tough questions are the point, that discomfort is necessary. Celebrities weigh in without naming names. Journalists dissect tone, pauses, body language. Psychologists analyze power dynamics. Hashtags trend worldwide. Nicole's team watches the numbers climb. Messages pour in, supportive, angry, emotional. She sits quietly later that night, phone face down, replaying the moment in her mind. The interruptions. The silence. The sentence that changed everything. Intent doesn't erase impact. Across the country, Whoopi does the same. She doesn't post immediately. She doesn't clarify. She lets the noise roar. She's been in this storm before. But this one feels different. Not because she lost, but because she was challenged in a way that didn't allow easy dismissal. The next morning, headlines soften. A rare, honest exchange. When two truths collide. Not a fight, a reckoning. Viewers begin to rewatch, slower this time. They notice things they missed. Nicole's steady breathing. Whoopi's pause before her final words. The way the audience shifted, not against either woman, but toward the conversation itself. And that's when something unexpected happens. The comments change. People stop arguing about who won. They start talking about moments they felt talked over. Times they stayed quiet to be polite. Times they spoke up and paid the price. The clash becomes a mirror, reflecting something uncomfortably familiar. Nicole breaks her silence days later with a single, measured statement, gracious, firm, refusing to inflame the fire. Whoopi addresses it too, acknowledging the moment without apologizing for asking hard questions. Neither backs down. Neither attacks. And somehow that restraint makes the moment even bigger. Because what people witnessed wasn't just tension. It was courage. Courage to speak. Courage to listen. Courage to sit in discomfort without storming out or smiling it away. That's why the clip keeps circulating. That's why people keep talking. Not because it was loud, but because it was real. And now, the question isn't what happened on that stage. The question is what you think about it. Was Nicole right to fire back? Was Whoopi right to push? Did the moment go too far, or not far enough? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I want to hear your take. And if you want more explosive cinematic stories that pull you inside the moment, make sure you subscribe to The Truth Narrator. Share this video, join the conversation, and stay with us, because the truth is always louder when it's finally spoken.